She posted, "Growth requires leaving behind what no longer matches your energy," less than a week after ending our relationship publicly online. I never reacted or explained my side. Months later, she deleted the post after watching her upgrade, lose his job, reputation, and apartment within the same month. Growth requires leaving behind what no longer matches your energy. I read it twice. Then I put my phone face down on my desk and stared at the wall for about 4 minutes without moving. She posted it 6 days after ending our relationship. 6 days. The caption had a sunrise photo. Soft orange light over what looked like a rooftop somewhere in Manhattan. Little sparkle emoji at the end. Aesthetic. Clean. Intentional. Thousands of people liked it within 48 hours. Mutual friends saw it before I did. One of them texted me a screenshot without saying anything. Just sent it at 11:43 at night like he was dropping evidence at a crime scene and walking away. I never commented. Never reacted. Never posted anything in response. Never sent her a message. Never called. People kept waiting for me to say something. Some were hoping I'd defend myself. A few were probably hoping I'd embarrass myself. I didn't give anyone either. But here's what nobody knew that night when that post went up and those likes started rolling in. 3 months later, she deleted the entire thing at 2:14 in the morning. Quietly. No announcement. No explanation. Just gone. Right after her new boyfriend lost his job, his reputation, and his apartment within the same 30-day window. I didn't gloat. I didn't even comment on that either. But I'm telling the story now. All of it. From the beginning. Because some things deserve to be said out loud, even if it takes a while to get there. I should have defended myself online. Part of me wanted to. There were nights in that first week where I had an entire paragraph typed out, sitting in a notes app, never sent. Logical. Calm. Factual. The kind of response that would have made people see the full picture. I deleted it every time. Something felt unfinished. Not with her specifically, just with the whole situation. Like there was a chapter still being written that I hadn't read yet. I didn't realize it then, but that post she put up, that carefully worded, spiritually packaged, publicly aimed little declaration, was actually the beginning of the worst season of her life. I just had to wait for it. If you enjoy real stories like this, subscribe, because what happened next changed everything for me. I'm 31. I work in financial consulting, the unglamorous kind. Not hedge funds, not investment banking. Mid-market corporate advisory. I help companies restructure debt and figure out why their margins are bleeding. It's not flashy. It doesn't photograph well. Nobody at a party gets excited when I explain what I do. I met Sabrina when I was 27. She was 24. We were together for 4 years. Lived together in Brooklyn for the last 2 of those. A 2-bedroom in Carroll Gardens that I technically found and primarily funded, though I never made her feel like that was a power dynamic. It wasn't meant to be. I wanted stability for both of us. We were close to engaged. I mean that literally. I had a conversation with a jeweler. I knew the cut she wanted. I'd overheard her mention it once to a friend like she wasn't trying to be obvious about it, but she absolutely was. I had a plan. That plan evaporated somewhere around month 3 of what I can only describe now as a slow, deliberate emotional exit she was conducting while still physically present in the apartment. The first sign was the phone thing. Not a dramatic thing. Not a caught cheating thing. Just, the phone started living face down on every surface. Kitchen counter. Coffee table. Nightstand. Even on the couch cushion next to her when we were both sitting there watching something. Face down. Every time. I noticed it. Filed it. Didn't say anything immediately because I'm not the type to start an argument over a phone position. But I noticed. Then came the content shift. She'd always used Instagram casually. Food. Friends. Occasional travel. Normal usage. Nothing I ever thought twice about. Around month 8 before the breakup, the feed changed. I didn't see her phone. I'm not the type to scroll someone else's feed, but I saw the energy it was producing in her. She started saying things. New phrases. New frameworks. New vocabulary. I've been thinking about what I actually need versus what I've settled for. She said that on a Tuesday morning while pouring coffee. I looked up from my laptop. What does that mean? I asked. Just processing stuff, she said. Don't make it a thing. I didn't make it a thing, but I remembered it. You never want to go out anymore, she said one night about 6 months before everything fell apart. We were in the kitchen. I was reheating something. She was leaning against the counter with her arms crossed, which was a posture she'd picked up recently that I didn't love. I went out last weekend, I said. To dinner with your coworker. And 2 other people. That's not what I mean, she said. I waited. I mean like out. Events. Things. Places where people actually see you. I'm not really trying to be seen, I said. She made a small sound. Not quite a laugh. More like a quiet verdict. That's the problem, she said. I didn't respond to that. Mostly because I wasn't sure what the correct response was supposed to be, and partly because I had a feeling no response I gave was going to land right. That was a pattern I was starting to recognize. She had a friend named Jess. I want to be fair here. Jess wasn't a villain. She wasn't whispering poisonous things into Sabrina's ear in some calculated way. She was just someone who'd recently left a long-term relationship herself and had decided, loudly and publicly, that she'd chosen herself and was thriving. Jess posted constantly. Brunch spots, new outfits, vague captions about standards and energy and not shrinking for anyone. And Jess had started dating a guy named Trevor. Trevor worked in something adjacent to media and entertainment. He was at openings. He was at events. He was photographed at things. He had a following, not massive, but visible. The kind of following that signals status to people who care about that signal. Jess talked about Trevor the way people talk about a destination they've finally arrived at. And I watched Sabrina watching Jess. I watched the comparisons being quietly assembled. Jess and Trevor are going to that gallery thing in Soho this weekend, Sabrina said one Thursday. Cool, I said. We could go. I've got a deliverable Sunday morning, I said. I'd need Saturday to prep. She nodded, but the nod had something in it that I didn't fully decode until much later. It was addition. She was adding it to a list. The alignment post started appearing on her own page about 4 months before the breakup. I know the timeline now. I've thought about it enough. She started posting quotes, the kind with simple fonts over gradient backgrounds. Things about energy, about not settling, about knowing your worth, about surrounding yourself with people who match your vision. She posted them in the morning, before I was usually awake. I saw them eventually, liked a few of them the way you do when you're trying to be supportive without examining the content too closely. I should have examined the content more closely. Looking back now, she was preparing an audience for a breakup before she'd even told me there was a problem. She was building a narrative context in public before the private conversation had happened. That's a particular kind of emotional architecture I didn't understand at the time. I understand it now. The first real conversation, where she actually said words that couldn't be ignored, happened on a Sunday. I remember the weather. Gray. February kind of gray, even though it was October. She sat down across from me at the kitchen table with the specific body language of someone who has rehearsed something. I feel like we want different things, she said. What things? I asked. Like experiences. I want to be experiencing life. Going places. Being present in the world. I took you to Portugal in April, I said. That's not what I mean. Then explain what you mean. She looked at me like the request itself was evidence of the problem. You don't get it, she said. And I don't think I can explain it in a way that'll make sense to you. Try, I said. She didn't. She stood up, said she needed some air, and left for 2 hours. When she came back, she was on her phone for most of the evening. And whatever she was looking at made her smile in a way that wasn't directed at anything in the room. I'm going to tell you about the dinner now. About 3 months before the end, we were at a restaurant in the West Village with 2 other couples, friends of hers mostly, people I'd known for a couple years by proximity. Good people individually, fine in groups. One of the guys, Marcus, worked in tech. He'd just gotten a significant promotion. He was talking about it, not obnoxiously, just conversationally. Compensation packages, equity, the new role. Sabrina asked him 3 follow-up questions. Engaged, interested, genuinely curious. Then Marcus turned to me and asked how work was going. Busy, I said. Working on a restructuring deal. Big client. Long hours, but it's going well. Sabrina made that sound again. Marcus didn't notice. His girlfriend said something about the appetizers. The conversation moved. But I felt it. The sound she made was small. Dismissive. The kind of noise someone makes when they've already decided what they think about something and they're too impatient to pretend otherwise. Marcus probably earned more than me. Maybe significantly more. I didn't care about that. What I cared about was that she did. You seem distracted lately, I said to her one night. We were in bed. Lights off. The kind of honest dark that makes conversations easier and harder at the same time. I'm fine, she said. You're not fine, I said. And I'm not attacking you. I'm just noticing. Silence. I just feel like I'm supposed to be further along by now, she said finally. Further along how? Like, I don't know. Living differently. I see what other people are doing and I wonder if I made the right choices. I stayed quiet for a moment. The right choices meaning us. I asked. I didn't say that. You kind of said that. More silence. I just need to think about some things, she said. She rolled over. I stayed on my back staring at the ceiling for a long time. I found out about Adrian. That's his name, Adrian Koss. The way you find out about most things you weren't supposed to find out about. Accidentally. She'd left her laptop open on the kitchen counter. I wasn't snooping. I was walking past to get water at around 11 p.m., and the screen had a message preview visible, the kind that shows the first line of a text in a notification banner. I didn't lean in to read it, but I saw enough. The name, the tone of it, the specific familiarity in the phrasing that you can recognize even in 4 words. I kept walking, got my water, went back to the couch, and I made a decision in that moment that I'm still not entirely sure was right. I decided to wait, not out of passivity, not out of fear. I wanted to see what she would do. I wanted to see if she'd come to me. I wanted to understand the full shape of what was happening before I reacted to one fragment of it. I waited. She ended it on a Thursday. I can tell you the exact temperature outside if that matters. It doesn't, but I remember it. We were in the living room. She was sitting across from me in the chair she always sat in, and she had the look of someone who'd been practicing this conversation for a while. I think we've grown in different directions, she said. Okay, I said. That seemed to throw her slightly. I think she expected more pushback. I need more than what we have, she said. I need someone who matches where I am in my growth journey. The word journey. I'm not saying you're a bad person, she continued. You're not. You've just been comfortable staying the same, and I can't do that anymore. Comfortable staying the same, I repeated. You know what I mean. I actually don't, I said. But continue. She talked for about 12 more minutes. Words like energy and aligned and authentic and intentional appeared multiple times. She talked about needing to prioritize herself, about knowing her worth, about not dimming her light. I listened to all of it. When she finished, I said, okay, just that. That's all you have to say, she asked. What would you like me to say? She seemed frustrated by the question. I thought you'd fight for this, she said. I looked at her for a moment. You came in here with a decision already made, I said. You've had this conversation before in your head. There's nothing to fight. You've already left. She didn't deny it. I started looking for a new place the following week. Now here's what I knew and didn't say. I knew about Adrian. Not everything. Not details. But I knew there was someone. And I knew that the language she was using, the carefully assembled growth vocabulary, the self-discovery framing, was partly genuine and partly architecture. A structure she'd built to make the departure feel like evolution instead of what it was. I didn't say any of that in the living room. I didn't say it anywhere. I moved out, found a place in Astoria that was smaller and quieter than mine, paid first and last, put my things in boxes, did the whole process with the kind of mechanical focus that I think was the only thing keeping everything from being too loud inside. And 6 days after the official end, the post went up. Growth requires leaving behind what no longer matches your energy. Sunrise photo. Soft light. Carefully selected caption. My phone buzzed 4 times in 20 minutes from different people sending screenshots. I turned notifications off and made coffee. Then I went to work. The mutual friend who first texted me the screenshot was a guy named Dom. He called me the next day. You okay? He asked. Fine, I said. You're not going to say anything? About what? The post. No, I said. Long pause. People are asking, he said. Let them ask, I said. Another pause. She's already posting pictures with some guy, Dom said. Rooftop thing in Midtown. He looks like someone who sells crypto. Probably does, I said. Dom laughed despite himself. You're being very calm about this, he said. One of us should be, I said. Adrian Koss. I looked him up once. Just once, and only because I was human and it would have required a level of detachment I don't actually possess to avoid it entirely. He had a polished LinkedIn. Founder of something. Advisory, board member of something else. His Instagram was all upscale venues and business casual networking events. He had good teeth and the kind of haircut that communicates disposable income without being obnoxious about it. He was the kind of guy who looked successful from the outside with enough confidence layered on top that most people didn't ask questions about the specifics. He photographed well. He and Sabrina photographed well together. I closed the app. Didn't open it again. About 3 weeks after the post, Sabrina's content changed entirely. Now it was the two of them. Rooftop bars in Manhattan. A weekend in the Hamptons. A dinner that clearly cost significant money based on the ambient lighting and the way it was shot. Events. Circles. Names in the captions. She started referring to him in posts without naming him directly. A someone who sees me for exactly who I'm becoming. An energy she'd never experienced before. A person who moves at the speed I've always needed. The likes poured in. The comments were full of women she knew saying things like, "This," and "You deserve this," and "I'm so happy for you." I watched the whole thing the way you watch a building across the street, distantly aware, not directly involved. What I noticed, and what I kept to myself, was this. She was narrating her life as it was happening, constructing the story publicly in real time. Every experience immediately translated into content. Every moment converted to evidence. It was exhausting to observe. I can only imagine what it felt like to live. 3 months after the breakup, I ran into Dom at a bar in Park Slope. We sat for a while. He updated me on the general social landscape without me asking. "She's everywhere with this Adrian guy," he said. "He's got some kind of events company? Or consulting? Something. He talks about it a lot. Does it seem real?" I asked. Dom tilted his head. "He's got good energy," he said carefully. "But there's something performative about it. Like he's always on. Even in casual settings. Always networking. Always positioning." I said. "She seems happy," Dom said. He looked at me when he said it. "Checking." "Good," I said. And I meant it in a particular way. Not warmly. Not bitterly. Just factually. If she was happy, that was her result to have. It wasn't my problem or my victory condition either way. What I knew, and what I kept entirely to myself, was that I was in the best professional stretch of my career. The restructuring deal I'd mentioned at that dinner had closed. Very well. There were conversations happening about a senior advisory position. Real ones. The kind that come with a number that changes your life's optionality. I hadn't posted anything about it. I hadn't mentioned it to anyone Sabrina might know. I'd just been quietly working. "You don't seem like you're hurting," Dom said. "I'm not hurting," I said. "I'm just not auditioning." He thought about that. "She checks your profile," he said finally. I looked at him. "Jess told me," he said. "Not with malice. Just mentioned it." I didn't say anything. "She expected more activity from you," he said. "More reaction. You not reacting is apparently unsettling to her." "Good," I said. This time the word came out slightly differently. Somewhere around month 4 after the breakup, I started getting secondhand information without really seeking it. When people know you're connected to a situation, they bring you updates the way cats bring you things they've caught outside. Usually when you don't particularly want them. What the updates started to carry, slowly, was a different texture than the early rooftop and champagne narrative. A mutual acquaintance mentioned offhand that Adrian's events company had some kind of falling out with a venue partner. Something about a payment dispute. Nothing huge. Just mentioned it the way you mention weather. Then Dom texted me. Heard Adrian lost a client. Big one apparently. I didn't ask for details. Then Jess, who I'd always maintained a cordial enough relationship with to exchange occasional messages, sent me something strange. Not about Sabrina directly. Just a vague thing about how some people's situations aren't what they look like. I didn't respond to that, but I noted it. Let me tell you something about Sabrina that I never said to anyone while we were together. She didn't have bad intentions. I want to be clear about that. This isn't a story about a malicious person. It's a story about someone who got so deep into a curated version of what a good life looks like that she lost the ability to evaluate anything that didn't translate to content. She was genuinely smart, genuinely funny, one-on-one, away from the performance of it. She was also someone who paid more of our shared rent than she admitted to her friends because I was covering most of it. Not because she couldn't contribute, she had a decent income, but because I'd absorbed the majority of the financial weight quietly, the way I absorbed most things. I paid the larger portion of our bills for 2 of the 4 years. I helped her navigate a career situation that could have derailed her professionally, introduced her to someone, made a call I didn't need to make, and never mentioned it afterward because I didn't want it to feel like leverage. I covered a flight, a hotel, medical thing, a family emergency once. All without record keeping. All without future reference. She called me comfortable and static in that living room. I thought about all of this and said nothing. Because that's the thing about being quietly present in someone's life. It's invisible by design. And invisible things are easy to mistake for nothing. 5 months post-breakup, I was at a work dinner in the meatpacking district. Senior partner, a client, 2 others from my firm. The kind of dinner that's actually about something larger than the food. By the end of it, the senior partner, someone I'd worked alongside for 3 years, leaned over and said we needed to have a real conversation about my future at the firm. Not vague. Specific. The position they were building out. My name being in the room when it mattered. A number that, when he said it, I had to keep my face very composed to not react too visibly. I thanked him, said I needed a week to think. I walked out of that restaurant into the October cold and stood on the sidewalk for a moment. Nobody photographed it. Nobody knew. Sabrina's content started changing around this same period. The rooftop photos became less frequent. The captions became shorter. The "someone who sees me" energy went quiet. She was still posting, but the joy in it had a different quality. Less genuine happiness. More maintenance of an image that was becoming harder to sustain. Dom confirmed what I was sensing from a distance. "There's tension," he said. "She doesn't say anything outright, but Jess has mentioned it a few times." "What kind of tension?" I asked, not because I needed to know, but because Dom had offered it. "He's apparently not doing well financially," Dom said. "Like, things that were supposed to come through haven't. And his whole persona is expensive to maintain." I thought about that for a moment. "The events company," I said. "Apparently not really a company," Dom said. "More like a series of attempts." Month 6. The updates started coming faster. Jess apparently told Dom that Adrian had been let go from whatever full-time position he'd been maintaining alongside the entrepreneur identity. That the full-time position had been the actual income, and the events business had been mostly aesthetic scaffolding. Then there was something about a business partner. Something disputed. Money involved. The kind of professional situation that, in certain industries, has a way of getting around. Adrian had apparently borrowed against a confidence that wasn't backed by substance. Had operated at a level that required ongoing income he no longer had. The apartment was next. It was in his name alone, and the lease wasn't renewed. I heard this from 2 separate sources within the same week. What nobody tells you about watching someone else's situation deteriorate is that it doesn't feel like winning. It feels like watching something you already knew was unstable finally collapse the way unstable things eventually do. There's no satisfaction in the architecture, just a kind of heavy acknowledgement. I said as much to Dom, who seemed almost disappointed by my lack of drama. "You really don't feel vindicated?" he asked. "About what?" I said. "I didn't build his situation. I didn't knock it down. I was just watching." "She picked him over you," Dom said. "She picked an image over stability," I said. "He happened to be the image." I want to tell you about the one time, in all of this, that Sabrina actually contacted me. It wasn't direct. It was through Jess, who texted me saying Sabrina had been asking about me. Not in a dramatic way. Just, quietly. How was I doing? Was I okay? Jess relayed this information with no agenda, I think. Just passed it on. I sent back. "Tell her I'm well. Hope she is too." That was the full extent of it. I found out later, again through Dom's extensive social listening, that Sabrina had looked at my LinkedIn profile twice in 1 week. That the activity on my page had apparently started a conversation between her and Jess. My title had been updated. The senior advisory role was real now. It was there, visible, understated in the way my profile always had been. No announcement post. No celebration caption. Just an updated line on a page. She saw it. Dom didn't tell me what she said when she saw it. He just said, she noticed. Month 7. Adrian moved out of the Midtown apartment and was reportedly staying with someone, a friend or a cousin, details were unclear, in Jersey City. The rooftop photos had stopped entirely. His Instagram, which I checked exactly once during this period, had gone from a post every few days to near silence. The last few posts had significantly fewer likes. The comments had gotten thinner. The image had become expensive to maintain, and the resources to maintain it were gone. Sabrina, from what I could tell, was still in Brooklyn. Different place than where we'd lived. Smaller. She was posting again, but the content had shifted. Less aspirational. More personal. More actual. Less performance. More person. I noticed that. Gave her some credit for it, privately. But privately is where it stayed. The post disappeared at 2:14 in the morning. I know the time because Dom, who apparently had nothing to do with his evenings, texted me a screenshot of the deletion, which isn't actually a thing you can screenshot, but he had screenshotted the original post previously and noticed it was now gone. "It's down," he texted. I was awake, reading. One of those nights where sleep arrives late. I put my phone down, picked up the book again. That was it. No message sent. No post made. No note in my phone. The post that had gone up with thousands of likes and a sparkle emoji and the confident vocabulary of someone who believed they understood the shape of their own future. It was just gone. Not revised. Not replaced with something more honest. just quietly removed at 2:14 in the morning while her situation looked nothing like the sunrise in that photo. I accepted the position 2 weeks later. The firm announcement went out internally. A few professional connections sent congratulations. I posted nothing. I went to dinner with 2 close friends who knew how long I'd been working towards something like this. We ordered too much food and stayed too late, and it was the best night I'd had in over a year. No documentation, no caption, just the actual thing. Dom told me, eventually, that Sabrina had fully moved on from Adrian, that the relationship had ended somewhere in the chaos of the financial collapse. Not dramatically, apparently, just eroded. The image had required a co-star who could sustain the aesthetic. When he couldn't, the architecture didn't hold. She was, from what he could tell, doing something like rebuilding, getting quieter online, spending more time with people rather than content about people. He said she seemed more like herself, like the version of her that had existed before the obsessive comparison cycle had taken hold. I heard that and felt something. Not warmth exactly, not satisfaction, something closer to recognition. The person Dom was describing, that quieter, more present version, that was someone I'd caught glimpses of throughout 4 years together. The version that appeared in off-camera moments. The version that existed before the phone was face down and the captions were being drafted. That version was always real. She'd just buried it under performance for a while. I saw her once. Grocery store in Carroll Gardens. The neighborhood we'd shared. I was there out of habit more than anything. There was a specific thing I got from that store I hadn't found anywhere else. She was near the produce section. She saw me first, I think. Or we saw each other at the same time. We did the thing where you make eye contact and then both assess, in about a second and a half, what the right behavior is. We said hello. She asked how I was. I said well. Asked the same. She said fine. Said she'd heard things were going well professionally. I said yes. She looked like she wanted to say something that required more space than a grocery store aisle. I didn't give her the space. Not out of cruelty. Just out of an honest assessment that the conversation she was trying to have wasn't one I needed to have anymore. Take care of yourself, I said. Meant it. Walked toward the checkout. There's a version of this story where I end by explaining what I learned, where I offer some packaged wisdom about silence being strength or patience being the real flex. I'm not going to do that. What I'll say is this. She spent the better part of a year building a public narrative about evolution and growth and leaving behind what didn't match her frequency. She posted the sunrise. She tagged the rooftop. She curated the evidence of a more elevated life. And then she deleted it quietly in the dark while the person she'd chosen to be the face of that elevated life was sleeping on someone's couch in Jersey City. I never commented on any of it. Not the original post. Not the deletion. I just kept working. The post disappeared at 2:14 in the morning. By the time the sun came up, nobody was asking where I'd gone. They were asking what happened to them.